Hello, this is S.K. Williams, your cartoon bishop speaking, and it is a time to celebrate. Rejoice, for indeed I have ascended to the heights of heaven, and God hath so elevated me to a greater splendor. By that, I mean that I have finally unlocked the advanced features on my channel. For those who don't know, and for whom this video may be the first or perhaps one of the earlier videos, I created this channel back in December of 2025, but I didn't realize or didn't remember, because I had created a channel before many years ago, that when you create a new YouTube channel, you have to go through a legitimization process. And they have a 3-tiered system in which you start at basic, move up to intermediary, and then finally get to advanced. At the beginner's level, you are limited to videos no longer than 15 minutes long. You also are limited in how many videos you can load, although I don't remember how many videos that limit is. And of course, you can't monetize your videos, and you cannot send feedback. But this stage is fairly easy to overcome. You verify your telephone number, you verify your email address, and you move on to the intermediary stage. And in the intermediary stage, in your channel settings, you can now post videos longer than 15 minutes. But you are still limited in how many videos you can load. Specifically, you can only load 10 videos per day, which was a problem for me, and it actually crippled this project for a while. But I'll get to that in a moment, for those who don't already know. You also can't monetize your videos or send feedback. But luckily, the channel settings inform me that with regular uploads, you should be able to attain advanced settings within 2 months. So I decided to wait it out, created some extra explanatory materials, regrettably messed one up, because I actually rather liked the idea of doing an extended documentary history of the Bishop's Bible. And I still intend on doing one that is a higher quality at the end of this project to make up for what wasn't at the beginning. But life happened and I wasn't able to complete it. But I did do several introductions, and I did do several historical tidbits here or there. And my channel remained in intermediary stages. So I decided to begin the project in March of 2026, hoping that by the end of March I could begin properly. And so I loaded videos. And before I continue explaining this, for those who don't know, the reason the 10 video limit was so crippling to this channel was because I have read the entire Old Testament of the Bishop's Bible as an audio form, and I have animated a good bit of it. I'm still in the process of animating the rest. And that is 936 chapters, because there are officially 929 chapters of the Old Testament, but certain chapters have also been added, which would align better with my plan of releasing 3 chapters of the Bishop's Bible a day for 6 days a week, Sunday through Friday, with a psalm from the Great Bible Psalms on Saturday. With none of the extrapolary material being actually added to the Bible, it's things that were already in the Bible to some degree. for example, apocryphal material, but nevertheless, my hope was to have the entire Old Testament completed by the end of 2026. And I had to wait. But if you go to your channel settings and look at the channel status, there are 3 ways that you can unlock the advanced features. One of them is to show an official identification. I didn't want to do that. Another way is to take a 6-second video of yourself reading a prompt. I didn't want to do that for a different reason, because I have to be at my mother's house to be on the internet, and there's a lot of distraction with her dogs. Besides, this is an animation channel. I don't really want my real face associated with it, because I want people to see me as the cartoon bishop. It's a creative choice. And the third option is simply to accrue a channel history. And you accomplish this accruement of channel history simply by loading videos on a regular schedule and having a sufficient number of them to establish that you are, in fact, a legitimate channel. And if you look at this channel as of today being the 22nd of April, 2026, it is a holiday, it is Earth Day, although the Bishop's Bible channel doesn't really commemorate holidays given its nature and intent. Nevertheless, and this video, strictly speaking, isn't about Earth Day either, so it still counts, but nevertheless, if you look at the content of my channel up to this point, you will see numerous videos, both introductory material for the Bishop's Bible and chapters of the Bishop's Bible from Genesis and Exodus and various great Bible Psalms. So, suffice to say, I have built up an established channel history. And I've had this channel history built up for quite some time. Indeed, I focused early on this channel at the expense of another channel that I also created at about the same time, in December of 2025, which is also still an intermediary, though to be fair, I didn't do as much with it early on, so I didn't build up as much of a channel history. But by the 2-month mark, I was still an intermediary and my advanced features had not been unlocked. It actually took me 4 months to do so. And during that time, I didn't want to wait on releasing the actual project, especially if I wanted to be taken seriously, because if anyone chanced upon my channel and just saw me doing multiple introductory videos, they may think me a clown or not serious. So I began the project in March, with the assumption that the advanced features would surely be unlocked by the middle or end of March, because it said only 2 months, and while that would technically be 3 months if you include January and February, maybe my handful of videos in January just weren't enough. Maybe this will work. And it didn't. It took me until the middle of April of 2026 to unlock these features. It's about 4 months after I've created the channel. So the project has gone a bit awry. Even though my original plan was to release 3 chapters of the Bible per day for 6 days a week, and 1 great Bible psalm, because of the limitations that I was under, I released one chapter of the Bishop's Bible a day for 6 days a week, and one Great Bible Psalm throughout all of March. And thanks to certain holidays and staying with my mother longer, I was able to do this via her internet connection. So I accumulated through March and April enough to keep both of those months, with March being one chapter a day for 6 days a week, and April being 2 chapters a day, 6 days a week. To me, that would begin my project properly, while at the same time working within my limitations. And it would be as if I began releasing videos from the Bishop's Bible in April. Because even though I actually began in March, if you count up the number of videos, it is approximately the same as if I began in April, because that would be 3 videos a day for 6 days a week. It doesn't perfectly work out, but it's enough. And my hope was that in May I would then begin with simply having 3 videos a day being the established pattern. But that was not to be the case, because throughout April, until recently, until just last week, on the very day in which I was to leave my mother's house and return to the house that I'm taking care of in the middle of nowhere, my advanced features were unlocked. And specifically, my advanced features were unlocked in the afternoon, approximately 3 or 4 hours before I was going to return to the house that I am caring for in a remote location with no internet access. So I could not realistically load any videos or take advantage of the situation. Not that it would matter, as even had it unlocked earlier in the day, or perhaps even the night earlier, it usually takes about 48 hours after they unlock your advanced features for the system to sync up and give you all of these features. In fact, you often lose features, and I actually did. When I left, before making this video, I could not do certain things to edit my videos or my channel. I couldn't comment on my community page, which is ironic since I could leave a reply to a post that I had made, but I could not post a new post on my community page. So there are certain features that weren't quite working, but from my research, this is normal when they're transitioning you from intermediary to advanced, and it normally clears up after 48 hours, which means that I would have to wait a week to use these advanced features anyway. But that's the situation that I'm in right now. I don't actually know if my advanced features are kicked in or if it was a fluke and if it is properly synced up. And even though I'm reasonably confident that I have finally gotten my advanced features unlocked, I'm not going to make a video about it until later. And it will be short. But for now, I'm going to begin. In May, my original plan of 3 videos released per day for 6 days a week, Sunday through Friday, of the Bishop's Bible, with, again, 1 psalm per week from the Great Bible Psalms on Saturdays. The Great Bible Psalms have already been loaded with the exception of Psalm 51 and 52. They don't properly line up with the year, but I've gotten it to where they for the most part do. Psalm 50 will fall within week 51, and Psalm 51 and Psalm 52 will be released in the 52nd week as a sort of special goodbye. And I've tripled up the Psalms in July in commemoration of a special event, my birthday. I know many would think that, considering that it is 2026, I would be talking about America's 250th birthday, but this is a British Bible, and besides that, I'm not deeply patriotic, and even if I were, the Bishop's Bible Project must remain focused on the Bishop's Bible. That's why, even though I needed to do some catch-up and do want to attach it to something, I'm not going to attach it to any secular, worldly thing. Of course, one could argue that my birthday is secular and worldly, but at least I'm doing the project, so I'm intimately connected to it. But don't take that as a political commentary. It's not. It's simply realistic that I focus on the work itself. That having been said, I won't begin releasing the 3 chapters a day until I begin the book of Leviticus, which is actually apt because the book of Leviticus has 27 chapters, which evenly breaks down into 3. In fact, in 9 release days, the entire book of Leviticus will be presented. And because of the unusual nature of how I had to arrange previous materials, that would be the books of Genesis and Exodus, the first chapter of Leviticus will be the first video released of the day. So in May, not at the very beginning of May, but in May, when I begin the book of Leviticus, I will also begin my regular pattern that I had always intended of 3 chapters a day for 6 days a week. Although it will probably have to wait till the next week, because I believe, and I will have to check the calendar at the other house where I'm doing this and the video release schedule, that Leviticus will actually begin on a Wednesday rather than a Sunday. But that's okay. That means that the last 3 days of a week, as well as an entire week, will be dedicated to the book of Leviticus. Having said all that, I am going to double over for the 3 months that I've been missing, and that would be January, February, and March. And to remind people, I did begin releasing videos in March, but since it was only 1 video a day instead of 3, I don't really count March as the beginning of this project. I started from April as if I missed the first 3 months. In July, just as I have tripled over the Psalms, I will double the amount of biblical chapters and possibly triple them, unless I think that might be a bit too much to take in one day. Granted, the chapters of the Bible are usually short. The videos are usually between 1 and 6 minutes long. There are some that are longer than that, but usually that's how long they are. But at the same time, I really want people to feel that this is an accessible project. At least, I want them to feel it is accessible in terms of how it's scheduled and presented. Granted, this is a Bible from 1568, and the wording is somewhat difficult for people, especially since I'm trying to capture the original pronunciation, which is often influenced by French. This is why I say covenant and obedience. Although it took me a while to get used to saying it, so I sound rather artificial sometimes saying it early on. Like, instead of covenant, I say covenant, or something rather like that. It sounds slower and more artificial as well. But I am trying to capture the correct pronunciation for the period. But I can't do anything about that without compromising the historical integrity of the work. Nevertheless, in May, I shall begin the proper scheduling, and I am going to do some special releases so that hopefully I will either complete the Old Testament at the end of 2026, or at the very least, early 2027, not necessarily going up to April, so that I can begin the Apocrypha without much problems. Having said all this, I will make a second update video at my mother's house, which is very rare. I don't like making there. I like visiting with my mother, and her dogs often bark, and there's also more noise. But it should be short, and if she's away at the store and if the dogs are quiet, it shouldn't be too bad. And it will be a shorter video than this one, celebrating my advanced features, if this video has not been premature. But for now, I haven't much else to say, so we shall now resume the Bishop's Bible Project.